Just have some context. Good morning, Robin. I see Robin there from Arizona. Good morning. Good to see you. Robin's got a new home. And
I'm sitting on the floor. There's no furniture in the living room, but I said I have a yoga mat. I'm here.
congratulations.
Thank you.
We are inspired by your commitment to that. How wonderful. And I can tell by the sound, the way the sound is. It's
All tile, no furniture, very echoey.
So then I guess we get more careful, don't we, about what we say when we realize that it's vibrating. It always is, right? It always is. So here we are. And we're going to be looking at death. And now from the point of view of the Bardo teachings, we're dead. It's that. And we have less possibility now following the Bardo of becoming, which we are just passing through to transition. That's not probably the right word. Not really. Maybe more like transform. Because transition implies, doesn't it, something moving from this to that? And there is no, yeah, Liv is distracting me, which isn't quite accurate. I am being distracted is what would be more true. She's got a cough. We'll see how we can work with it. Transition implies movement of a thing, doesn't it? Maybe would even suggest something remaining, wouldn't it? Or something of this coming to this. And it's a dangerous idea, isn't it? Because the teachings really say new, fresh, unknown. Can anybody think of any other words? Every moment. You get this idea? And so the only this that leads to that, called present moment, is remnant, energies, karma, say these teachings, but not you. Right? Can we hold that idea? But not any solid, permanent, fixed you. It's very difficult for us, isn't it? Why memory? Because we recollect, as we are capable of doing, the moment before. And because of this capacity to hold the most, and by the way, we don't hold them well. I want to add, they're pixelated. They are not pure. They are not clear. They are not reality. They are completely distorted by the lens of our conditioning. So the moment before cannot be recollected accurately. This is a hard idea, isn't it? And don't most of the arguments we get in, at least half, have to do with what? It was like that. You did say that. You did make that face. It was the tone in your voice. Right? Half of what we argue about is these believed thoughts, all distortions about the before. And then we argue, secondly, in deep conflict, about what is to come. It is going to be like that. If that guy gets elected, it'll go like this. If this guy gets elected, it'll be like that. And that's just as hilarious and ridiculous. Because what? Don't know, only know present moment. Very difficult. In fact, we don't really do it. do we? If we're honest, no. No, I got up with a little bit of a sore knee. I'm sitting here thinking, when I get up, I'm probably going to have this sore knee. It may or may not be true, in fact. But holding that kind of open door to the present moment is very, look what it means for us, right? So when you think about this just for a moment, when you think about holding that door that wide, that skylight, that boundless for the next moment, what happens? Anybody? Let's see if anybody's writing. What happens? You are there for it. Yeah. Why is that so terrifying? Because you're there for it. That's the good news, and that's the bad news, isn't it? You will be there for it. This is a problem for us. We don't actually want to be there. Why? I love that you said that, Megan. That's correct. I'm going to laugh about that all day long. Because we're going to be there for it. Facing the fear. One idea. And it's partial truth for sure. Facing fear. Yeah, fearing is one of the things we're going to bring to that boundlessness, that infinite possibility, that infinite reality, right? Why is that so scary? Clinging to the, Siobhan writes, clinging to the known is a false sense of safety. Yes, it is. Don't we love this idea? I know the day. Tanya says, being present in the moment of the unknown, it's groundless. It's so big. And by the way, we're going to talk about something even bigger called the you that abides it. Would have to be then, right? If we're acknowledging the potential of a moment, the potential of a day, the potential of, right? And it's infinite, inexhaustible potential for love, care, compassion, wisdom, then what would be required of us to greet it? Fully awake, no handles, no ideas, no preferences, no bias, no reactivity. You couldn't bring anything to it, could you? You'd have to be simply wide open. Wouldn't you? Wide, wide, wide open. What's so terrifying about that? Because we talk about this in the spiritual traditions all the time about this is the path of true happiness, true ease, true connection, true joy. And yet we're terrified. What's that about? Because we have a negativity bias, Libby says. We've got 17 chaotic, catastrophic things in the head about the day. And we do, don't we? And we do. We have constructed already, whether you even recognize it as a conscious thought or not, a construction, a distortion, Buddha said delusion about the past, the present, and the future. He said, you're deluded here. Why? Because I've got some ideas about some things. Like what? What are the ideas we bring to right now? For those of you on camera, what's the delusion right now? I got to look a certain way or act a certain way or say a certain something or because I'm visible. I'm present. People who aren't, I can't be because I will look a certain way, act a certain way, be visible, right? Like who, where, right? Right. It's actually so much more courageous, isn't it, to just show up? Wouldn't it be? Like without looking in the mirror going, let's get my hair doing today. There's a little thing going over there. I don't even know what that is. Right? Isn't it truly fearless? Like you show up, right? And then you show up with the thing over here, and it looks like I got swelling, something going on over there. Right? You show up because what? This body was never going to hold you up, was it? And aren't we reading this? Oh, the body was never, doesn't mean you don't attend, doesn't mean you don't care, doesn't mean you don't, right? But to imagine somehow that this body would be, and aren't we now lost as a culture and a society? Are we totally, completely about what we think we're going to do that's going to keep this thing going? And right. And it's laughable. And it's billions and billions and billions of dollars. If we would invest half in education, we'd change the world. Right? And I get up every morning, and I'm no exception. I have castor oil, put castor oil on my eyebrows because my eyebrows are thinning. I've heard castor oil makes them thicker. I got that going on. Right? And on my lips, I've heard they keep them from dehydrating. Right? And again, attention and care. That's right. There's a certain keeping what's good, good. Right. You dust, you clean your floors, right? There's some things. And then there's the chasing and the striving for the thing you cannot have, which is the moment before. Whether you were 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever. And what you also cannot have is the moment yet to come. Because it is not guaranteed. There is no commitment that this will be yours. And so then where else could we be? Honestly, where else could you be? Except like really, right? Like Manjushri's sword, dropping in to this present moment. We all get this, don't we? And then the requirement is to smile, to remember the brain stem, and it's right, it's pretty fun, pretty funny, and then try not to be caught by it. That would be right, not to be caught by it, but to smile at its humor, and then get back here. Get back here. And by the way, most of the time that I'm smiling, I am here. I notice. I just catch that thought. Right? That's like, there it is. Like going, if only well, gosh, if I put that on more, maybe it'd be better. Megan says, and then we're going to sit. Agree. Tanya said something. I didn't see it. Control, yes, not having to control and have to trust and be present are so hard. You have to be fully authentic. Yeah, we're so terrified. Actually, I don't think it's so hard. I think the other is hard, actually. I think all of the running the other way is hard. I think all of the masking is hard. I think all of the solidifying and keep is hard. And we're just not familiar with this truth is showing up, right? That is the struggle. Exactly right. Because we all wish, right, that we were enough. And again, what's so funny is we already are. In the present moment, there would be nothing else to be then, right? There would be what could you pull off except this, whatever this moment is, and with whatever you are then in this moment as enough. The more, Carrie says, the more I work out, the better I will be until I wake up with a really sore back. Yes, Carrie, my knee is talking to me today. What did I do? I thought, I'm really going to work on this thing. Gotta stretch. And what did I do? I think I've hurt my knee. And why? The idea of more, the idea of better, right? The idea. Now, by the way, it doesn't mean stretching my knee. Remember, we've got to make these distinctions because it isn't like stretching is the problem. It's not like working out is the dilemma. What is it? It's the idea that propels you into something false, Joko would say, the false self, rather than just stay in the body and go, well, like this or this much. Or I knew yesterday, by the way, that I was doing this probably 40 times more than the days before. Well, that information by itself could have been instructive. You guys aren't physical therapists. Might anyone have said, well, 40 times the amount? Maybe not. Wouldn't you? Like, right, you don't have to be a rocket scientist for you might want to kick that back, maybe go to 10, right? Or see somewhere around there. But what? The mind. I've got to stretch this out, right? Now, sometimes the reality is, and then we'll sit, it's unavoidable. I cannot know. I cannot know this, right? It's also true. And so we are tempered. This is the instruction. We slow. What? We don't do that. We slow and temper and attend to see, right? I'm going to take it a little slower. I'm going to do a little less while I'm watching with a lot of mindfulness because I don't know the impact. Why? This is not known. That exercise I got, not known. Now, it felt pretty good much of the time, and then, right, not so much. I'm going to read and then we're going to sit. Felicia says, let me go back. Sore back, says Carrie. Robin knows about this. In my speech, I talk about the burden of the mask. Oh boy, I've been wearing, and that learning tools that taking it off is okay, is so freeing and much less exhausting. There's no doubt about it. We know this for sure. We know this in family systems, by the way. I'll just give one example. In family therapy, which I do, of course, when the secret comes out, and we just had that recently with 4 daughters and a mother in my office, and they were and arguing. And I said, I think we're probably all just scared about this change in your mom. And I wonder if we couldn't just sit with that for a minute. And what happened? I think all this noise, everyone cried. Wouldn't you? Then you'd cry. And isn't that okay? It's true. It's scary. It's sad. They don't want to lose their mother. Right? But see, that's easier, isn't it? And look at how quiet it is. Then we just rest in the truth, feeling the feelings of sadness or grief or fear. By the way, no emotion is the problem, is it? It's our brain stem's desire to avoid. And then we end up avoiding what? Most of life, don't we? We end up running the other way from what? Yourself and life. Nowhere to go, by the way. Come home. Okay, we're going to sit. And then we will go right from sitting. For those of you who have to go, just know whatever works best for you. I'm looking for. Oh, wait, it's here. So we're going to sit for the full 15 minutes. And we'll just continue. So what's the real posture then? Like, what's the posture that's truly wakeful? What is it? And I just sort of straightened up and then went, that's not going to work out that well. That's going to put extra strain on something I don't need. And so I rested back just a little so that I could be both alert and really present to this body, residing, inhabiting, abiding. And then with the aspiration of the Bodhisattva to end suffering for all beings everywhere without exception. Reset. Come thou, thou last one whom I recognize. Unbearable pain throughout this body's fabric. As I in my spirit burned, see, I now burn in thee. The wood that long resisted the advancing flames, which thou kept flaming, I now am nourishing and burn in thee. My gentle and mild being, through thy ruthless fury, is turned into a raging hell that is not from here. Quite pure, quite free of future planning, I mounted the tangled funeral pyre built for my suffering, so sure of nothing more to buy for future needs. While in my heart, the stored reserves kept silent. Is it still I who there, past all recognition, burn? Memories I do not seize and bring inside. Oh, life, oh, living, oh, to be outside. And I in flames, and no one here who knows me. And I in flames every moment, and no one here who can know me, who can know me, except the capacity to be here. And so we rest in this ever flowing reality of becoming and dying. And we cultivate, as we come to not only bear witness with the continual change, we come to see the truth of our goodness and the truth of our suffering and its causes. Our goodness made manifest in each moment. We can simply abide life, ourselves, as it is. And then to let it all go to begin again. And in our constructed egoic self, it means rebuilding the building again and again and again. Exhausting, said Tanya. And what if we didn't? Nothing to construct, nothing to improve, nothing to make better, said Carrie. Just really being here. And then the silence and the stillness will pervade. There will be no reason to run, to think. Everything would be a response to what is. And then we would come to true rest and true being. And then we would feel for ourselves and each other, recognizing who we really are and recognizing the cause of suffering. In recognizing who we really are, we could only then bring goodwill, friendship, love, compassion, and unconditional care. And in recognizing our fear, we would become fearless and hold ourselves and each other as a mother holds a precious child. We would see the truth of suffering and move closer and breathe it in and breathe out love every time. Every time. And it would be enough. And then in each breath, we would see who we really are and smile. And then the only thing that burns, as in Rilke's poem, is that which was never you to begin. And may this practice be of benefit. And may it continue this very day. So be it. That poem is by Rilke, called Death. And Rilke was a Christian mystic, a German, I think. He spoke German and wrote in German. And so I'm just going to check in before we go to the book. Book is a short, fairly short chapter on how to help. Then how do we help those who are near death and dying? And we probably should begin by expanding our definition. Who is that?
All of us.
Everybody.
We're dying every moment.
Isn't it everybody? Yeah, it's everybody. So this idea to help those who are near death and dying, that would be us all, because we don't know. Or we do know, right? That's another truth. I have a friend who is not well, and right, we know that there is a certain, the illusion of permanence is clearly falling away regularly. Every day, I guess every moment, I guess that's part of the practice, isn't it? The illusion of who we mistook ourselves to be falls away. So then, let's see if we can't find the chapter 24. I think it should be pretty close. Let's see. I think probably you all can see most of this. Let's maybe jump back time or two. There we go. Oops, kept going. Has a mind of its own here. There we go. Okay, so helping others with death and dying. And we've already decided that those others are all of us in every moment. Pema begins by talking about her mother's passing. She was a student of Trungpa's at that time, and but was not a teacher, I don't think. And she talks here about how she missed the actual moment of death with her mom, but that she was encouraged by Trungpa to go, to be with her and to support her, not only then in that moment, but in many moments actually beyond that. And of course, in all the time since, which is 40 something years for Pema now, she has done this many, many times. And I have heard about her being there for her people in the Shambhala community, friends, and others in a very important way, as I now believe she is preparing for her own time and is going to be in more and more retreat, which I think she says here a couple times. So Trungpa gave her some advice, and some of the advice was to keep in mind that the person who is dying or dead does not always know. That's been something that we've also gotten somewhat clear about in the near-death experience. People didn't know they were dying if they didn't see themselves lying there, because the consciousness was still alive and active. And so if the person at the transition saw the family arguing, saw the difficulty, they may not know that they are not there yet. And so one of the first helpful instructions was to remind the person that they have died and that it's okay. You're not here now, but it's all right. And I'm understanding that you may be able to hear me or see me, or and don't worry, right? You're not, it's okay. And then the second instruction, but I don't know if she mentioned it here, is to really help them feel at ease with that, to go, it's okay, I'm here, we can do some of this together. And one of the things that Trungpa recommended is, and I've heard mixed results on this thought, by the way. I've heard a very different instruction, so I'll talk about that too. He said, talk about all the good things that she did. Now, I have heard that that is actually can be complicating once the person has died, to kind of pull them back into, you were just this. You get this idea? And I've heard several lamas say, that's great while the person is actively dying, to say you were loved, you were good, you cared, you're in evidence, and to really support them knowing the goodness that is going on. But once the person has actually died, to talk about that now can be a holding, pulling them back, like I am only that. That makes some kind of sense to me. I will tell you. I would say you have to sort that for yourself at the time and see what might be most true or not true. But for me, right, just knowing that I was loved, certainly. But going, remember that time that we went to the cabin and you were making raviolis? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. And I have a funny sense there may be something in it. I would say investigate that for yourself. I do know for the aging geriatric elder population, talking about their life is very important, because there is a life review kind of happening. I was there, I did this is a part of my life, a part of my experience, and that there's a lot of benefit and wisdom. We're also collecting wisdoms and love in it, not just memory. So I would say watch, just see what turns out to be true for you as you're in these moments of recollection, in these moments of review. And remember, we all are distorted in them, except, I think, what? For the love. The love was there. I think it is true. I remember my grandmother making raviolis and the way she wanted it to be right for everyone and how much she cared about it. And I feel that love. And so there is some benefit in it. Does it matter then cognizing if it was this kind of ravioli or that kind of ravioli? Probably not. Probably not. And remember, this is where conflict occurs. Conflict occurs in that fact holding, not in the experience. I remember how much I could feel her love. Who would argue it? You wouldn't. You'd go, right. This is the thing we shared, in fact. So be watchful of when you recollect and review, not only at the time of death, but in your historical, that you don't grab and cling to the story as much as you do to the experience. Hold the experience. There is something healing, certainly, in it. So let me see what else she has to say. The Tibetan view that the consciousness stays close to the body. We know that beyond the Tibetans now. So we don't even have to question that. We do have evidence for that. Although the physical body is dead, the consciousness is still very aware of what's happening. This is why we're going to go into remembering that the person is has already died, in death or dying. I often start by telling this story. Whatever your beliefs, the overall idea is to be sensitive that the person is going through a major transition. We should behave as if they're aware of our presence. Very important. Hospice workers throughout all time, including myself, believe that you don't say anything you wouldn't say to that person if they could hear you, as if they could hear you, both in the dying, at the time of death, and beyond. Because there are those both presence and energies available. Offering strong, loving, steady presence. I like that. Mother Teresa talks about in how one of her commitments was to make sure that people knew they were loved as they were dying. And she worked with the leper community primarily at that time in the early days. And those were people who were rejected. And so she would go into the streets of Calcutta and get them, which is quite amazing. The prayer here, I didn't underline it, but I should have. I apologize. I really think this is sweet. I do know that Pema recites this. She will say this at times after a sitting as well. May I, with ease and great happiness, let go of all attachments to this life as a son or daughter returning home. Let go of all those other things so that I can be what? Simply a crucible for love. This is the work. Find the phrases or words that work for you that you can repeat, because we know the benefits of repetition, don't we? Very much so. The first recommendation is to let the dying person know what is happening, stage by stage. I would say that's also a question mark. Why? At my father-in-law's time of death, I don't think he cared. I think it would have been a waste of words to go, and now, and now, and now. I think he did need to hear, you are loved, you did good things, it did matter, and this will be remembered and held. I think that mattered. But now your earth element is falling away. He might have come out of death just to go, shut up. This is not helpful. He did not have that training. So I don't think so. I just don't have any feeling for that. And I have a feeling that it was important to be there. And it was important to talk to him. And it was important to let him know that he was loved and that we sensed the love in him. I think that was important. And I think that's what we did. I think it is what we did. I think we did a really good job. I sang to him. I've never sung to him in life, but something for him to be at some kind of ease in that. So I think you have to be truly present. What really is can be of benefit here. And what does love look like then? And I would say pursue that. But the going through the elements of dissolution with the person, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I think if you've studied the Tibetan book for your lifetime, that could be useful. But I'm not sure otherwise. We don't need to be in their physical presence in order to communicate. I have a very strong sense of the reality of this. No doubt about it. There's lots of evidence. Sometimes people will go, you know what, I was just thinking about you when you called, right? I was just, I think there is that reality. There are these particled, subtle energies, not just this strong, gross physical form. And so there's no doubt about that. You can send love anywhere to anyone, kindness anywhere to anyone in the world. And I believe it can be known. So yes, to that. Down in the third paragraph, the teachings became much more real for me, Pema, and inspired me to welcome the challenge of my own transition. She's been practicing, as I said, this for many years now. Trungpa also taught that the first 3 days after someone passes are especially critical. I think we have some evidence again on that. Part of the evidence that I think they had was that some of the highly trained lamas, particularly in Tibet and other places in the Hindu tradition as well, the body did not decompose. The body stayed really quite alive, and they were dead, literally, but the body did not begin decomposition for days. And I think that 3-day mark might be that consciousness can hold in some way potentially, or something that the body is still being used in some way. And they have many reports of that in the Tibetan and Hindi tradition. The first few days are particularly critical. When the element of consciousness dissolves into space, you want that person to make that transition as easily as they can, with the least amount of distress, for sure. Remember from our previous study chapters that child luminosity, that earth luminosity, you could say it that way, the human luminosity is now merging with the collective luminosity of vast open space, and called mother luminosity. And you want to support the person in that bardo, the bardo of dharmata. Many people sit in prayer, meditation, silence. They recite things, they read poetry. What else? You could sing, chant. People do physical prostrations or dance, right? All of these things would be offerings. So when we get this limited idea that it's just got to be me thinking, maybe not. Maybe you beat a drum. Maybe you chant. Maybe you, right? And again, I trust your wisdom and your relationship with this person to know something about that. In the ceremony, we would burn their photograph as well as a piece of paper with their name on it. This is allowing for the dissolution, supporting that person. Don't have to hang on here. Don't have to hang on to this. You are bigger, more than these limited moments. People sometimes would throw items into the pyre as a letting go, but it was a letting go for them as well. Like, I'm going to let go of this. I'm going to, right? I'm often fascinated, and it has happened to me, for me, with me as well. When people I have loved have died, I have felt that clingy grab the thing. I want my grandpa's violin. I want my grandmother's wedding ring. I want, and I recognize that as simply my own resistance, right? My own. He is not the violin. And would I still like it as a memory of him? And to hang it, I would. But by the way, do not mistake that as more, I would say, than your desire to hold something lovingly. We have to do that lightly. Why? Because the arguments, the fights, the distress, and it's happening in my own family currently, is got to have this. got to have that. It's got to go this way. It's got to go that way. And that is all of our distress, isn't it? Often the person at dying, and Pem has talked about this too, set up the mess by going, you're going to get this and you're going to get that. And it's got to go like this. And you can only get half and you're not going to get any. Right. And I think confounding for us all, this, even beyond the death moment, directing, right, the way things should go and be. I think we have to hold that more lightly, because boy, there's a lot of struggle and suffering around those things. It says we would reassure the person that's dying that they could let go and that everything and everybody would be just fine. I think it'd be better if rather than reassure them, you just did it. That you went, it's okay. I don't need anything. Really, I have all this love, these memories. And if that works out, that's great. And if not, right. The clinging, grasping nature, I think gets us. I think we have to be careful about that for ourselves. We remind them that they will be waking up in the dreamlike bardo of becoming and be able to choose, or I would say direct, the path from there, that they have authority. There is still some agency through consciousness to direct one's next moments. And remember, we understand life as next moment, next moment, next moment. Can I choose to come back as Taylor Swift or somebody like her? I'm suspicious. I don't probably think so. And I don't know what that would be about, right? And can we direct by virtue of our conditioning and our practice, which is not conditioned direction? Yes. How could it be otherwise? How could it be otherwise? There are 1,000 things that could go wrong. So if you want to have a peaceful death, the best way to ensure that happens is to cultivate a peaceful mind while you're still alive, to practice not getting so upset, caught up, and clinging when unwelcome or unpleasant things enter your life. Well, there you go. Wouldn't it be true that we learn how to let go every moment in this lifetime? That we don't wait for a time of death, because it will not serve us well. Another thing to consider when someone dies is how to relate to their possessions. We've already talked about that a little, but I think how you relate to them is going to be as important, how they relate to them. And then we get into lots of, boy, I've seen a lot of struggles with, no, they said blank, it had to go this way. And I'm going to give you an example. So I was the executor for someone's trust, and he hated actively in this life his mother and his sister, actively, venomously. And he said, whatever you do, don't give them anything, whatever you do. And I went, I understand that this is painful. I understand that this is hard. And I'm going to do my best, is what I could say. I'm going to do my best. And maybe I'll one up you on maybe our best would be. So what happens, of course, Bob dies, and immediately I get a call from mom and from sister saying Bob took, by the way, which I know he did because he told me, some items once out of anger from his sister's home. And one of them was a beautiful little table that the mom had been given as her engagement gift that when they didn't do rings. And another was a flag, a handmade flag that a great aunt or somebody had made. And I think it was like a fishing a picture of a king fish or something. And there wasn't 1 second that I didn't go, absolutely, you can have those things. And I understood as best I could that what I was trying to do was contribute something to the writing of all of this hatred and all of this ill will and all of this acrimony. I don't know if what it did for Bob, because he had already been in the transition. I do know for the family, they are recollecting him today with greater love. There, because that part has been at least repaired a little or corrected. Do I feel bad about not honoring Bob's wishes to keep everything from them? Not 1 second. It has not occurred to me. And I didn't tell him that I would be able to do it. I said, I will do my best. And I meant that, and I felt like I lived it. He didn't question it, so I'm going to assume he may have guessed the way that might go. I would not recommend that you necessarily follow my steps in this, because what? I only used what I had, the best I could see to do, the most right, loving, corrected goodwill I could find. And it might work the other way for reasons that might be greater, like can't do this, it's not right, right? You can't have it. I couldn't say, but I think you and the love and the wisdom in you, again, might be greater than any overarching instruction. So be watchful. Another thing to consider is we already looked at possessions. We'll understand how much it could disturb a dead person if we treat their belongings carelessly. Well, because they are so attached to their belongings, and their belongings have come to represent something about them. But isn't it always true that when we're in someone's home, we try to regard them in their home in their way? I think that's what it means. I don't think it means more, but that we are regarding of someone's space, we're regarding of someone's place, and as a way of regarding them. So I would see this as that kind of statement. I'm not sure you have to preserve, like a museum, their home. Right, I don't think so. And can we bring goodwill? Can we bring regard, right? And genuine care to whatever it is we're doing in behalf of them, including things like legal trusts? I think that can be valuable. And I think things can work out better that way. Throwing the teacup out the window, I thought that was just spectacular. This was one of the lamas that I think Pema was sitting with, and his final act was to throw his teacup. I think that's fair. I thought that was just great. May we all have such ease at the time of death. In whatever way someone dies, there are ways to benefit them even after they've passed. We can light candles, of course. We can recite, again, phrases or poems, or we can dedicate donations or virtuous acts. People do that a lot, right? In loving memory of, right, as a way of propagating their goodness. So yes, I think we could do that all and with great benefit. We can do virtuous acts, dedicate, that kind of stuff. Giving money to people who are destitute, helping animals, or taking a loving action. I think we know it matters. And then down below it says, I learned later that this is based on the belief that in the bardo of becoming, this is the rebirth, the dead may experience hunger and thirst, but can only get satisfaction from food and drink that are specifically offered to them. I would say this would be true like love, wouldn't it? So you could say, I love everyone, and it would count as loving everyone, but it may not be as nourishing as saying, I love you, or I love Pete, or I love Dad, right? And that concentrated attention, care, love would matter, wouldn't it? Does that make sense? I want to look at it that way, right? It doesn't mean it's less, if you say, I love everyone, but there's something else, a different energy, a concentration, an attention, an intention that's right, got more in it. I think for sure when we direct that with intention, I would say, right? If we could maybe talk about it that way, with intention. Pema talks about offering her father a specific thing he loved, and that intention with attention and the specificity of that having some relevance. We can do the Tonglen practice, breathing in, taking away anyone's suffering, their pain, their confusion. I do this always when someone is dying. Tonglen is a strong practice for me. I'm with you. I'm taking in any obscurations to a easeful death and then beyond as best I can. And sending what? Remember all the goodness, the light, the love, the beautiful meal, that good memory. Couldn't we do that? And wouldn't we do it naturally? See, the Tibetans don't have anything on us, do they? Wouldn't we do it? You would. You would. You'd say, I hope as you're transitioning, you take your favorite strawberry cake with you. You're right. And then to the extent that you would enact that would only enliven, right, that wish for them. So I think that's what this means. And I don't think it's unique then to the Tibetans or the tradition at all. Finally, it's crucial to let yourself fully grieve the loss of anyone close to you. Fully grieve. That means sadness or tears or recollection or, right? And wouldn't we all, including the one who is died, be deserving of this? Wouldn't they? That love. That love. And we fight it and we prevent it and we try to get over it. And how sad for everyone that we spend so much trying not to grieve because we believe we will fall in the well of sadness. But grief is not first sadness. It is first love. And if you don't get one other thing out of the book, please get that. That grief by its nature is just love lived in the loss and then through it. And be careful about what you do with it because you're cutting it off from not only you, I believe, but from the other in a way that would be unfortunate. Trungpa often spoke about the genuine heart of sadness, which is the tender, open place where you feel connected to people and receptive and open to the world. This is a positive state of mind, as I believe grief is, as much as it hurts. At the same time, we can keep in mind the teachings on the two truths. On the earth plane or relative level, everything is changing and everyone dies, right? And that death is painful, it's hard, it's scary. It reminds us of our own impermanence, and we can honor the truth of that. And on the other level, nothing dies. It is simply like a cloud in the sky, moving between form and formless. That's all. And I have the sense of both of these being essential truths, and I believe we're capable of holding them both. And so there's that chapter. Next one is Waking Up in the Bardo. That's the one that now we're back in some form. We'll talk about that one next week. I'm going to check in here, see if we have anything in chat. Any questions or thoughts about this chapter? My client is with her mother who is fighting death at 108. Well, she's been fighting for 108 years. I'm going to say she's got a little expertise. That's probably how she got to 108. Fear is an amazing propagator of life on the one hand, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Can't let go.
she's actually said she's not ready.
I know. That's how
She's
she
like,
got to 108.
I'm not ready.
Yeah. My great grandmother almost made it to 107. She was 106. And you know why? She had a deaf son. And she was not going to leave that deaf son until she heard that he died. And the day she heard that he died, she died 3 weeks later. Why? My purpose has been realized. I don't have to continue. And she just went to sleep. She did not die of a thing. She died of being done. And should we all be so lucky? I would want someone to help that lovely woman not be so afraid. To know that those 108 years have been of benefit and served, and that they will continue, and that is that goodness will continue. That is going to be difficult. I've been with people who have died with a lot of resistance. It is always excruciating and painful and terrifying. Terrifying. So I would not want that for her, as I would not want that for anyone. May she have peace, or come to that with the help of your client. Hard. Those are hard moments when we struggle. Isn't it true? What else? What's your experience with this? What do people know about this for your life? Have you been with others? What has that been for you? And can you see the benefits, I think, of these possibilities at the time of death and beyond? Yeah, right. I think we all can. So death anniversaries, for example. I was going to a meeting one October. Was it November? It was November. And I had just realized that my grandmother died, Grandma Kay, the day before my father. Now, I know you didn't know that because I didn't know that. And the card actually fell in front of me. I didn't even know I had a card, her card of her life and death. And it fell. And I went, oh my God, she's died one day before my father in November. And I was going to a meeting, and I decided to get a pumpkin latte. Why? Because my grandmother loved pumpkin. That's it. And I sat there with the pumpkin latte and had somebody go, oh, you and your fancy coffee. And I said, oh, it's not about the coffee at all. It's about the pumpkin. I'm just remembering how much I love my grandmother. Right? And doesn't it matter? Right? Did it have to be a pumpkin latte? No. Did I have to buy? No. But did it kind of gather for me, collect for me the truth of that love in honoring her and the love? It did. Well, do that. Right? Then we do that. And we don't do it because we think they're coming back. We don't do it because we didn't do enough. It's not from that place of paucity. It's from the enoughness of it all. We do it because I love you still. And I remember you loving pumpkin. Right? And wouldn't it matter? Yeah. And you can feel, can't you, the truth in that. I'm going to read some chat before we go. Dennis, here, yep. To intuit another passing is to act on it and be there. That is right. We actually do know people can have a felt sense. This is this person is in transition, they are in dying. I ask people when I'm working with them to listen deeply to that, Dennis. I just had two clients whose brothers were dying, and they said, when do I go back? When do I go back? And I said, listen and pay attention, and you will know. And they both went within days of the person dying. In fact, our friend Ken went 2 days. He arrived on Friday to see his brother. His brother died on Sunday morning. Right? I don't think that's accidental either, do we? Those of us who've been around death and dying know. Listen, you will too have a sense. I need to go now. I need to be there now. By the way, we encourage people who are having to make decisions about end of life measures to do exactly the same, don't we? We say, listen, be with the person. You will know when it's time. You will know when it's time to unplug them. You will know when it's time, right, to invite the transition and support that. You will know. And to the extent that we are not in fear, but we rest in love, we will know best. Isn't it true? We will know best. Yes, Tanya says, I do the same when the guavas are in season. Yes, you can, right? You can pay attention in this. It's a certain attention, a certain intention for care, for presence, for being with, for bearing witness. And you can only get insights, says the teachings. Only insight will be its result. Okay. So why don't we sit together for just another moment? Thank you for the feedback. And so we have this incredible, isn't it amazing, boundless heart that's capable of holding us in everything, ourselves in each moment. We begin the practice there, ourselves, just as we are this moment. And we breathe it fully. We abide completely. We respond lovingly. May we dedicate the merits, the blessings, the benefits, all the good, all the medicine, all that is needed to the end of suffering for ourselves, our loved ones, and all beings, with the genuine wish to cultivate true happiness, love, ease, well-being, both in this life and beyond. May we call to mind those for whom we practice today. I'm calling to mind my friend Carrie Ann. May we all hold her. All your friends, those you're thinking of, may we hold them all. May we hold our friend Fatma, who has not been feeling well. And really calling those others here, calling them not only into your mind, but breathe them into the whole of your being. May we all be happy. May we all be free from pain and suffering. May we be free from fear, from loneliness, from poverty and all affliction. May we rejoice and invite goodness for all beings. And may we rest and dwell in this wide open, vast heart, the refuge for all in me. And may our practice today be of benefit. And thank you all for your practice, your presence, and your commitment to this path. again, we don't define the path as Buddhist. We define the path as loving presence in all the ways that you do. And we all do. Yes, thank you so much, Tanya. Everyone, please be well. Be well. Look forward to seeing you Thursday with Greg at 7, Saturday here in the garden and on Zoom, talking about working with fear to fearlessness. Yes, don't we all need that? From fear to fearlessness. Yeah, we don't get rid of fear on the path, so don't worry about that. You don't have to change anything that way. Look forward to seeing you. You're so welcome. Everyone be well. Good. I'll see you on Thursday or Saturday.